This is the first job that's come up where I'm actually going to use the brand new Fireball Tools welding squares. We got the mega square right there. I'm sorry, this is the monster square, and then this one is the mega square right here. And you can see one of the differences in using it in this configuration is this one I can't get to the inside seam right here to get it welded or tacked, and with the mega square you can get in here and tack it or weld it, whatever you want to do. But I'm using them to square the frames up to get it, we're going to get it tacked off. I've got some pretty good sized frames. We've got some material right over there that I'm going to be using to build 2 large gearbox frames for them, for the gearboxes to be transported and stored on. And the gearboxes will be sitting on top, and I've got some other tubing, some 3x6 tubing that get welded on here for forks on a forklift to be able to pick this whole unit up and move it around safely, and also be able to set it onto the back of a flatbed truck and get strapped down for transportation. So that's what I'm doing here. The material we're using is 4x4 by half square tubing. I think it's a little bit overkill for what we're doing, but that's what was ordered, so that's what we're going to use. I'm going to weld it with some I'm going to use my MIG welder, dual shield 045 wire. So we're going to be using Flux-core. I'll show you some pictures of that as we go, but I'm going to be testing out these new squares, Fireball tool welding squares, and seeing how they work. We got the 2 cast iron ones in use right now. This is the aluminum one right here, and I'm sure I'll be using it too. So we'll see how these things hold up and how well they do, okay? You can see right here on the seam that I got to weld, because of the radius that they put in the corner of these tubings, you have a pretty wide gap in there, and sometimes that could be a problem. Sometimes it's not. If you know how to weld, you can do what we call bridge welding. That's sort of a slang term to bridge a gap in there. This is a case right here where MIG welding really comes in and makes the job easier, but especially on the stuff like this. This is heavy wall tubing, 1/2 inch thick, and I like to use the Flux-core dual shield for, say, anything over about 1/4 inch. That's something that I've been meaning to get into in discussion, do a topic on a video, and I just hadn't ever got around to it. But it's going to be dual shield for me, dual shield for this job right here. So I know you can't see it with the GoPro, but what I'm going to do is take that wire, and because this is really heavy, you don't have to worry about it falling through there, getting too hot. And I got it running really hot too. And I work each side. That wire goes way down in that crack, and I'm just building up each side. When I come to this side right here, I'm pausing and I'm letting it build up, and then I'm going over there and I'm putting it into that wall on the other side, and I'm just working it back and forth, and it's filling that gap and it's welding both pieces together. Now you can see how well I filled it up right there. That side I got right in there I got a little bit light, but over here I focused more on this piece and building it up and then going over and flowing it into the other side. So this is where we're at so far. I'm getting pretty close. Got all the cross pieces welded in. I've still got a few more that I got to weld. We got one right there that we got to weld in. Same thing on this side and down there for that one there. But most of them are welded. I'm just trying to get everything rolled into the flat position so that I get a good weld. I don't particularly care for doing a whole lot of vertical up. It's a little more tricky for me. So I've got to, now we're going to take the 3x6 tubing. I'm going to cut those to length and they're going to fit in right here. They're going to get clamped right here and right here, so they get welded to this beam and that cross piece down there. So they'll be welded around it, and that's what'll tie in the support from this side down to that side right there. And that's going to be the tubes that the forks go in. So we got the tubing, the 3x6 tubing cut. These are the pockets that I'm talking about that the forklift will grab. And notice that I've got the weld seam on the bottom. So whenever the forks go in to grab this thing, it's flat on the top side there. We got them clamped in, ready to go. Now usually what I do on these is that I stick them out just a little bit longer. It's a 1/2 inch on either side. Just a 1/2 inch gives you a little bit of extra metal there to lay a weld bead on. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and clamp them up. We got them clamped up. We'll weld them here, here, on both sides, here and here. Get welded in good on both sides. And then I'll take the stand and flip it over and then weld the other side. We'll stand it up and weld down in here. And same thing on the other side. I've still got a couple more welds to put right here too whenever I stand it up. We got our first 2 welds done on the rectangular tubing. So we're going to go ahead and flip her over and finish out the welds on the other side there. This is where that MIG welder really works good. You can get way down in that crack with these things. There we go. Repeat that 3 more times. Alright, we got that welded in now. It turned out pretty good. They're pretty deep in there. May do another pass, I'm not sure yet, but everybody's getting ready to wind down now. It's getting pretty late everybody's getting ready to close up, so I think this is about it for it today. I got to flip it over. Well, I mean, we got some more welds. You can see down there, I got some more welding to do. It's getting real close, and once I get these welded in, the last thing is I got some plate outside that was burned out with a hole pattern, and it's going to sit right there, right in the middle right there, and I got to weld that on, and after that it'll be done. So yesterday I forgot to bring my cameras in. I didn't get a lot of video of the rest of the build, but I did highlight using the new squares, and I got some other stuff to share with you. But this is where we're at. We're just about through with the two stands. I've got a couple plates out there in the yard that I got to bring in and get welded right on top right here, that has a circle on it, cut in it, and a hole pattern so that the gearbox flange will bolt onto it. So they're coming together nicely. And you can see how well the Flux-core does. So we're going to go ahead and continue on. We're going to get the plates in here and get them welded on and try to get these things finished out. That's the plates that will set on top of the stands that we're building. So that's 1-inch thick plate. It's 48 by 48. We got a 27-inch hole in the center and 1.5 inch holes burned in it for some 1.5 inch bolts. I think those are like 1 5/8 holes that's burned in there. So the gearbox unit is going to mount right there. It's going to sit down and bolt onto where the flange is, and that's what's going to hold it onto the stand right there. So we'll get those mounted up here and start stitching them on. Okay, we got our plate mounted on there now. I've got it centered so it sits halfway on the tubes, the 2-inch from the edge, and we're going to go ahead and start stitching this thing on there. So the reason why it's offset like this, it's a little bit wider, is that the gearbox, whenever it sits on here, is actually offset. It goes all the way to this edge, so you got weight here too. It's just an offset gearbox, so the feet will capture all of the weight of the gearbox. You just seen me do this side here, so we got one side done. You can see how I'm stitching it in. I'm coming in, I'm marking the positions where I want to weld it. We got our marks in there to stitch it in, and you can see again how well that Flux-core does for this kind of stuff. You can really pour it in there and put down some metal, and see how it just falls off there. Does a really good job. So just more of this all the way around the entire piece, and I got to do that on both of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these things finished out and welded up. I'll show you what they look like when they're all finished welded.
I can use it for a second.
So there they are, nearly complete. I've got one more up that I got to do on them. The pads for the feet there. I got some 1/2 inch by 6 inch flat bar cut, and I got to dress those, deburr them, and those will go underneath each one of the legs to serve as a pad, and I'll get those welded on. And once these are welded on, that'll be the last step for me on the fab work anyway. I got one of my co-workers just waiting on me to finish it, and he's going to take them and clean them up and put a paint job on them, make them look pretty. And the gearboxes have not made it here yet, but they should be coming pretty soon, hopefully the next couple days or within the week they should be here. So I was going to mention too, I don't remember if I did, on this particular one, I've got the 2 sets of pockets on there that's for the forklift to grab it. When I first started building this one, I put the ones on the outside there for our big forklift, which is our 8,000 pounder right there. And then we got to kind of talking about it and thinking maybe not everybody else has got an A-bomb size forklift. So I went ahead and put 2 more pockets on this one to accommodate for a standard size forklift. It's not going to hurt anything. I mean, it's just added rigidity there really. So that one's got the inner pads on there, or the pockets I mean, for the forks. A lot of heavy iron right there. Those things are pretty stout. All right, let's go ahead and get started on the next phase. There they are, finished up. All the welding and fab work's done on them. So they're about to go to paint now. Got one of my guys, he's getting ready to start on them, get them cleaned up and painted. I'm pretty happy with the way they turned out. Pretty good, nice and heavy duty, I tell you that. Well, maybe whenever we get the gearboxes in and get those put together and sitting on these stands. Maybe I'll try to get a clip of that for you, video or picture, something like that. But until then, that's it for now. We'll see you on the next one.